one from the very beginning in UNEF in Nairobi, when I started actively also engaging with this treaty process. It was a very outrageous and also eye-opening for me and the community to which I represent. It was eye-opening first in the sense that it was the very first time that our speaker was interacting more with the high-profile environment ministry officers. It was the very first time that I did meet my PS of environment that totally had no clue about West speakers. He totally had no clue about the people that work in the landfill or in collecting the streets or in very low-income areas. The only category to which he related with are recyclers who are, in my context, not just Kenya but also of the global south, is that the recyclers are at the very apex of the pyramid of the sector to which we work in, who are also like multi-billionaires. And I very much feel that it's the very same thing happening here, that when such treaties are being discussed, it is intentional that the people who benefit most from it do not want the people who are more impacted by the results of what they are bringing to the environment to also be in these spaces. So it's by design that they lock out the voices of indigenous people and frontline communities that particularly get impacted by their profit schemes. Generally, for me, and also I guess for a better part of the people that I speak for, being in these spaces are not easy to start with. Even the one that I had to get to in Nairobi took a lot of lobbying from ally organizations and a lot of lobbying from myself to also just access such a treaty space. But then again, what mostly and what I've also been interacting with very recently is that how much there's a lot of social washing in these spaces. The social washing in the sense that there's a lot of organizations and a lot of industries that, to back up what kind of what they've been doing, or the businesses, to protect the businesses that they've also been running, and that is also backed up by the number of representatives that they send to these spaces, because they are protecting something. That's entirely what it means, that they are protecting their interests. And by protecting their interests, they need as many people as they come from their side. Like they are very much uniting to protect their interests on this. But in the same sense, frontline communities cannot afford, leave alone to start organizing, but cannot even afford to have the brain space to start engaging even in these spaces. It takes a lot of brain space to first think around surviving, but also think more beyond being in policy making processes. For West speakers, and through the International Alliance of West speakers, we know that what unites us is our challenges. And most of these challenges are also by design, by countries and by industries. Because industry also, as you might have already seen from the statistics that have just been mentioned, that there's a lot of influence by industries to states. And that is the truth of the matter. Most of the people that sit in the policy making tables have a very big disconnect with what is actually happening on the ground. And that is what we represent, what the realities that are normally happening on the ground. The industries and most of these companies do not understand that we fight to be in these spaces because of the livelihoods that we've seen losing. Most of them have not come to spaces where we've in different ways tried to build resilience in different forms. We've in different ways tried to also bring these realities to to spaces where they are. So it's not like they do not know what the impact of what they're doing, what their businesses are doing. They have a very good and clear picture of what it does. It's only that they're choosing not to act in anywhere around it. This is when I say that we bring these realities to their tables. We've tried to, like, for instance, myself being here, what I'm mostly representing here is the realities, like what is actually happening on the ground. I do not write statistics, I do not do research, but these are realities that I've lived and experienced. And when we talk about impacts of these toxics, I relate them with actual names, people that I call family that have succumbed to them. So whenever we are talking about how impactful some of these things that are happening have impacted our reality, I attach them to names. The pollution that is happening, when we talk about, like, for instance, at some point I would get, like, per day I would get like 100 messages of people that are like medically impacted in the landfill, and most of these things are actually happening in the landfills. From my position, I represent three categories of waste people: those working in very low income community areas, those collecting in the streets, and those from the landfills. And when you get a picture of what is actually happening in the landfill, is that the people living and working, like the waste pickers still living and working in the landfills, are constantly, on a daily basis, inhaling burning plastic. And from the research and from publications, we know that plastic in itself has more than 10,000 polymers, which, when burning, is being broken down to its original state. And when you interact with actual lives being impacted by these things, it's different. It's different when we discuss and when we talk about impacts, but whenever the impacts are mentioned in any way, you can already think of people you interacted that are no longer there. So for me, that question normally touches different. It touches difference in the sense that as we sit in the same policy table, we could be using the same word, but because the word in the dictionary has a defined meaning, for people like us, we relate differently, as much as we also know the